Are you a Swiftie?
Are you a literature lover?
Are you a history buff?
If you answered yes to one or more of these questions, we invite you to join us, Alicia,
and Melissa,
two Gen X besties who sit right in the center of that particular Venn diagram for Swiftery, the podcast with a wholly original take on Taylor's songs as we see them through the lens of great literature and world history.
Taylor's magical gift, as we know, is documenting the universality of her experiences, and we will follow her stories to all the places, personalities, and eras in the journey ahead.
It's the songs of Taylor Swift and the stories of us all.
Join us for Swiftery, beginning Tuesday, December 31st, 2024. Available wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi all, this is Kermit the Frog, and I'm here to tell you the story about Emmet Otter's... That's Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas. It's a good thing I didn't damage the sign here. You'll notice that it points the way to Frogtown Hollow. That's where Emmet and his ma live. Somebody's coming. Oh, look, it's a frog!
Nah, that's a toad. Frogs ain't that ugly, right, Chuck?
Now, wait a second, you guys.
Hey, Jacko, you see anything you like?
How about the scarf?
You got it!
Hey. That was a bunch known as the Riverbottom Gang, and unfortunately you're going to be seeing more of them too, because, like Ma and Emmet, they're all part of Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas.
I know, I'm crying already. Hello, happy holidays, and welcome to Book versus Movie, the podcast where we read books that have been adapted into movies, and then we try to decide which we like better somehow, the book or the movie. I am Margot P. of coloniabook.com, and this is my good friend and co-host, Margot D. of Brooklyn Fit Chick.
Hi, everyone.
I am on the road. If you're watching the video, I'm in a hotel room. La, la, la. Not my normal technology, so bear with us. But we didn't want to miss this week's episode. So excited to talk about this book and movie. Cannot wait. But before we get to that, welcome. Yes, this is a podcast where we say book, but really we will consider any film that's been adapted from really any kind of written source. Is it a play? Is it a song? Is it a magazine article, a short story, a novella? We will consider a children's book, as we're going to discuss today. So we are constantly looking for ideas. If you have suggestions to make of episodes that we can do in the future, you want to meet other listeners of this podcast, there are a few places where you can interact with us all on the internet.
Yes, you can find us on Facebook. We have a basic Facebook page, and you type in Book vs. Movie Podcast. The episodes are posted there all the time first, but we are much more interactive in our private Facebook group. So you just type in Book vs. Movie Podcast group in Facebook and ask to join, and we really do just talk about books and movies there, and people are always giving their suggestions, which we love. Keep doing that. We are also on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Threads, and at those places you spell out book versus and movie. And then we also have an old-timey email, book versus movie podcast, spelled out at gmail.com. And if you would like some stickers, send us your address via that email and we will drop them in the mail for you.
We have been doing the show for over 10 years at this point. We've done a holiday theme for December every single year. So we have many, many holiday films that we've done. And today's episode is one that's been suggested for several years in the group. So we do pay attention to these suggestions. And if you really, really enjoy the show, you want to see some of those older episodes you can't get where you normally get your podcasts, you can also support us on Patreon.
Yes, go to Patreon. We have put everything from 2021 and then previous to that on our Patreon wall. That includes Almost Famous, Heartburn, Dangerous Liaisons, A Face in the Crowd, AI, Logan's Run. Those are all on our Patreon wall. We have a couple of very affordable options, and we really just use the money for the books and the movie and just the costs for keeping the show together. So we appreciate everybody that does that. You can also sign up for free, and you can see a lot of these clips that we're playing if you just want to use it for that reason. But for everyone that supports us there, thank you very, very, very much. Also, you can just please subscribe to the podcast. That way you'll never miss an episode. But wherever your podcast app allows you to leave a review or some stars or whatever, we'd really appreciate it if you could do that. So just keep that in mind. And for all of you that do support us, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
And if you'd like to catch a glimpse of us behind the scenes making the podcast, you can catch us on YouTube now on our respective YouTube channels. My channel is at She's Not Your Mama, and Margot's channel is her name at Margot Donahue.
Mm-hmm.
And we are on Blue Sky now. I think you mentioned that?
I did mention Blue Sky. We're no longer on X, Twitter. We're on Blue Sky now. That's where and it's been wonderful, by the way. Really great artists and authors following
really
us.
Fun.
Yeah, they've been wonderful. So wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, very fun new space. Well, there ain't no hole in the washtub. I cannot wait to talk about this book. Oh my goodness.
Can I confess something? Margot, I had no idea what this was. And we are I'm a couple years older than you. Very 70s focused, very Muppets focused. My mother was a big reader. There is no reason that I didn't know about this. And I'm happy to say I love the book. I love the movie. I am totally into this universe. I love this suggestion. I'm so glad we did this.
Me too. Well, our family loved this movie when it used to come on television, when we were kids. And I think at some point, I remember my dad made a recording because we had an early VCR where the buttons were as big as my phone, to record a television show. And so he made we had a tape of it and watched it all the time. But we didn't have the book. I did not know about the book, and which I can't believe because it's by my favorite author illustrator team of all time, Russell and Lillian Hoban. So let us talk about them. They were a married couple, and as a married couple, they had some really iconic children's works that they did, and then they went on to do things independently after they separated.
Right.
But let's talk about this couple because they really shaped our childhood.
Yes. So Russell Conwell Hoban, he was born 1925 in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. He he was raised in a Jewish family. His father ran a Yiddish language newspaper called the Daily Forward near Philadelphia. His father died when he was 11. He did serve in World War II. And during that time, in 1944, he married Lillian. And he's a writer, but he's also an artist, and he's much more known for his artwork. And like many of our authors that we've talked about in the past, he worked in advertising and worked for some big powerhouse companies. He also collaborated with his spouse quite a bit, but he has a photo, and he created an image of Joan Baez in 1962 that's in the National Portrait Gallery, which I was just looking at, and it's beautiful. Like, I'll post it in the Facebook group, but he was known as an artist. He created covers for Life magazine and Sports Illustrated. And in the 60s, he started writing children's books. And I'm unfortunately not as familiar with his children's books as you are. But he and his wife were together from 1944. They moved in 1969. They had 4 kids. And they moved to London, which was supposed to be a short trip. But he fell in love with London. And they were living there for a few years. They had separated, and then and they divorced in 1975. He had remarried, but he had always stayed in London. But for me, this is the work that I know him the best for. He passed away in 2011. He lived to be 86. Had a long life. Very interesting man.
Yeah, I absolutely enamored of the Francis the Badger books when I was a little girl. I think the first one is Bedtime for Francis, and there's a different artist. His name is Garth Williams, who does and they're so great. Does the illustrations, and then they do sequels. I guess it was very successful, so they did a whole series of Francis books, and then Lillian takes over the illustrations in those books, but she continues the look that Garth Williams had established, and that style of illustration is 100% what we see in Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas. But yes, my first time reading this book. I'd never seen the book ever. So I'm so glad I bought it. It's so pretty and the illustrations are so charming. But it's not like Frances the Badger is about, she's a little girl badger, and she goes through things that little girls go through. She becomes a big sister. She deals with, friends who aren't always the greatest. She learns how to share, stuff like that for like really small children. This one, Emmet Otter is much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, put it this way, like on the second page, the opening line is like, Emmett's father was dead.
They're really poor.
They're really poor. So it's this family of a widow and her son. And it's unclear how old he's supposed to be. He might be like 8 or 9, or he might be like 12 to 14. It's not completely clear, but he and his mother, and it's sort of like a Depression era kind of a setting, but for animals who live along a river. It's like Wind in the Willows, but it's the Depression, and everyone has lost their money.
And everyone's working little jobs here and there to make as much money as they can.
Yeah.
To scrape by.
Yeah. And so their father has died. And even before he died, they were already struggling. But, now that the father has died, as we're so very bluntly told in the book, like they do not sugarcoat it. They just whammo with that information. So Emmet does little odd jobs for neighbors here and there, and Mrs. Otter takes in the laundry. And so this book, we talked last year about, what was the Gift of the Magi one that Marie Osmond was in? What was it called? The Gift of Love.
The Gift of Love. That's a lot of our holiday ones are for free in our regular feed. So you have to kind of maybe scroll a bit, but we have a lot of good holiday episodes. But I love talking about that. Was really fun.
So we have, once again, we're borrowing some themes from the Gift of the Magi. I would say more successfully than the Gift of Love. But so it's Christmas. It's Christmas, and the river where everyone lives has frozen over, of course, and now it's really lean. Like now it's really hard to make money. And they announce that the mayor announces that they're going to have a talent competition, and the prize is $50. And again, we're unclear when this is taking place. But everyone seems to think that this is a great deal of money. So it's a little bit old timey. And little Emmet thinks, oh, my mom is such a beautiful singer and she used to love to play the piano, and we had to pawn the piano. And gosh, maybe I could put a down payment on a used piano for her. And then we'd have like a little bit left over, like for food. And Mrs. Otter thinks, oh, Emmet is dying to have a guitar. And I saw that beautiful guitar that was $40. And if I won the prize, if I did singing, if I sang in the competition, maybe I could win and get Emmet the guitar that he wants. And so, they both unknowingly to the other, each of them enters the competition. Now, Emmet enters as a jug band. With his little friends. They get together and they do a jug band. But here's the thing. In order to have a jug band, you have to have a jug and a guitar and a washboard. And in the movie, there's a kazoo and a wash basin base. What do you call that? Right?
Yeah.
A wash tub base.
Yeah. It's a stand-up bass.
A stand-up bass. And Emmet is delegated to do the stand-up bass because his mother has a wash tub. But in order to make a stand-up bass, you have to put a hole in the wash tub. And if he puts a hole in the wash tub, his mom can't take in laundry anymore.
Right. It's a quandary because that's taking a
not
big
good.
risk. Yeah.
Taking a big risk. But if they win, he will have enough money left over to buy her a new wash tub in addition to what he wanted to get her for Christmas. So it's a gamble. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
And Mrs. Otter has entered to sing in the competition secretly, but she thinks, I can't get up on stage because I have these like really ratty clothes. Nobody's going to listen to me unless I have a nicer dress. I need to sew myself a new dress, and I have to buy fabric to do that with. And so to do that, she hawks her late husband's toolbox that Emmet uses for his odd jobs to make money. So we are really up a river here, literally and figuratively. And so she secretly pawns the tool chest and buys some fabric and sews herself a dress to compete in. And now it's the night of the competition. And the whole time we're getting these absolutely devastatingly charming illustrations of these little animals in their little winter gear, because their fur, I guess, doesn't keep them warm enough. So they have to have hats and coats. It's so cute.
Yes.
And Mrs. Otter now there's some differences between the book and the movie. In the book, there's first of all, there's a group from a nearby town called Riverbend, it's called in the book, and they perform a rock song. They call themselves the Nightmare Band, and they perform a rock song called the Riverbottom Blues or something like that. But in the movie, these are like tough city mean kids. In the book, they're just like regular kids. They're like, hey, we're here to play some rock music, and they're just really sweet. And they just have this cute little rock band called the Nightmare, and they play, and they're great. They go first in the book, and they're great, and everybody loves them. Crowds going crazy. And then Mrs. Otter gets up to sing, and her absolutely, I mean, I'm almost in tears, like with how cute this dress is. She's in her new little dress. And in the book, she gets up to sing, and it's like she's everybody's so excited about the rock band that it's like she might as well just not even be opening her mouth.
Right.
They're not paying attention to her at all. And then, so that's terrible. So she gets, so she has flopped. And then Emmet and his friends get up, and the same thing. Everybody's decided that the rock band has won. So when Emmet and his friends get up to play their song, they also, like, nobody cares that they're playing at all. So they lose. So everybody loses. Spoiler alert. Everyone loses. They've lost everything. So just like in The Gift of the Magi, like they hawked each other's important things, and now everything all is lost. And Mrs. Otter and the boys, these boys are dejectedly walking home after having lost so big. And Christmas is like the next day, and we don't, well.
What are we going to do? We have no wash tub now to do business. We have no tools. Like, we lost.
No. We lost everything. And Mrs. Otter stops them and says, let's stop right here and let's sing together. Let's sing a song together. And so all of them together sing a song, and it's so beautiful that the owner of a nearby restaurant hears them and comes out and offers them a job singing in the restaurant on a regular basis for very good money. And yay! Christmas is Day. And they also, not only that, they also, Mrs. Otter we established she loves to sing. She loves music. They all love music. So not only do they get to have now a regular income singing for the wealthy people of the town in this restaurant where they all go, but they all are doing work that they really enjoy instead of bringing in laundry and doing odd jobs and so on. So happy ending for all, and a happy long-term ending, not just buying the guitar and buying the piano.
They have some security.
have some security, which is what they really need.
Right.
And everybody's happy. The end. It's so charming.
It's so cute. It's so charming. Like you said, I love the note that they both leave for one another, that they're going to be gone for the day.
It's so sweet.
It's so sweet. Like, I hope you understand, but when we win, it's going to make up for everything. And in the end, it came out better than what they started.
But really, I think, the illustrations just really stay with you. They're so first of all, they couldn't be more adorable. Their little clothes, their little homes, their little houses along the river, but just their expressions, and when they're singing versus when they're speaking to, it's just so, so cute. And that's all Lillian. That's all Lillian Hoban, or Lillian Aberman is her maiden name.
Mm.
And so she goes back to New York I think she goes back to America with their 4 daughters. And yeah. So I don't know. I'm trying to. What year did Emmet Otter come out? I'm
71.
Blanking. 71.
Mm-hmm.
So 71. This is right around the time when Sesame Street is coming into being, revolutionizing children's television, thanks to Jim Henson and Frank Oz and all of the wonderful people from Children's Television Workshop. They have this thing called the Muppets, which takes puppetry to a world-changing level. Without the Children's Television Workshop, there is no Yoda.
There's no lot of things.
There's no Miss Piggy. There's so many, many, many things that are just part of American culture. We owe to the Children's Television Workshop. What year? Do you remember what year the Muppet Show started?
It would be maybe 77 or 78. I can say that. Well, you look that up. One of the things Jim Henson did also was the Muppets. The Sesame Street was hugely popular. Margot and I were both raised on Sesame Street. In the mid-70s, there was a little show that premiered called Saturday Night Live. And at the time, it was just called Saturday Night. And they didn't know what they were doing. They were just pulling this all together. And one of the ideas they had was to take the Muppets and make an adult version. And not an R-rated, but
yes,
but
Jim
edgier.
Henson had done, yes, they had done. The Muppets had occasionally made appearances on late night television. It was an adult thing, not as a kid's thing at all, like Margot's saying. So even before Saturday night, I think they were on like the Jack Parr show or, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe even Ed Sullivan, maybe even back as far as I'm pretty early on.
Yes.
And puppets, but with an adult humor angle.
And it's apparently Michael O'Donoghue, who's a very famous writer for Saturday Night Live and very famous for being very prickly and out there, used to complain about the Muppets. And my favorite line from the Saturday Night Live book that I have is he says, "I can't write for felt." That was the attitude that these people had. Like, we have George Carlin, and then we have Joe Cocker, and then we have this segment with the Muppets. And I'm sure that got on Jim Henson's nerves a little bit. So they were trying to figure out a way, like, what can we do that's not so, preschool aged, but a little more elevated. And variety shows, very popular in the 60s and 70s.
We've talked about them multiple
Everybody had
times.
one. Yes. They're, the Sonny and Cher, Sammy Davis Jr., Red Fox, Captain and Tennille, Mama Cass,
anybody who was
Donnie
an
and Marie
entertainer had a variety show. Yeah,
right. And
Donnie and Marie.
Right.
It was something that just took over television. I don't know if it was the cocaine.
Could have been the cocaine. It was also
so much work.
It's cheaper to make a variety show. You just have to break it up into segments. Right. So I think Henson had an idea of let's do a Muppet version of that, but you kind of need to prove the audience and kind of prove your mettle, let's just say. Did you find out when it started?
Yes, it's in 1976.
This is very
So
important.
we've got, but also the thing to remember about Sesame Street, yes, it is for preschool age children like we were. We were learning how to read and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 with the Pointer
11,
Sisters.
12.
They would bring in so many elements for the adults in Sesame Street. There were many jokes in Sesame Street that were totally aimed at adults. The kids were not even conscious of that were going on at the time. And also bringing in artists that adults would know, like the Pointer Sisters. And so they were already kind of feeling that arena around. And yes, the Muppet Show premieres in 1976, and it's a primetime show, so it's in the evening. So it's definitely for adults, but kids could also watch it. And um, it featured all of top 10 artists of the day would go on the Muppet Show, and massive movie stars would go on there. And they would do it was a variety show featuring puppets, which anytime I see clips from the Muppet Show, and just how on earth did they get this done?
They had Elton John and Alice Cooper and Bob Hope and Debbie Harry. They had everybody. And and this is really important too, and we'll mention this, is Paul Williams is a key person here.
Yeah.
He is an actor and he's mainly a composer. He wrote Rainbow Connection. He was in a movie that Brian De Palma directed. It was about a rock star who goes crazy, but he's like in the 70s, Paul Williams, he was like 5'1" or 2, very tiny man with blonde hair, shaggy hair, and glasses.
Extremely distinctive
look and size. He was constantly making jokes about himself. He was also a guy that was a ladies' man. He was also a bit of a drinker. So a lot of times he'd show up. He once showed up on Johnny Carson dressed up like Planet of the Apes because he was on the Planet of the Apes TV series and it took him 10 hours to make his makeup. So he said, hell, I'll go on the Tonight Show with it, and kills it. He wrote Love Evergreen for Barbra Streisand.
He wrote so many hits.
And in the 70s, he was constantly, what's the movie I'm thinking of with Scott Baio and Jodie Foster about the kid gang?
Oh my gosh, Bugsy something.
Bugsy Malone. Bugsy Malone. So he was writing musicals. He could write for entire shows, like entire movies. He could create the soundtrack, not just the compositions, but the songs that are actually used, and they're catchy. Yeah. And he just knows how to hook. So in 1977, they go to Toronto, and it's actually funded by the CBC first, Canadian Broadcast Channel.
Yeah.
So in Toronto in spring of 1977, when they're filming Saturday Night Fever, by the way, which is a book I'm writing about, so I know this time very well. They're in Toronto filming this show, and then that Christmas it airs there first. And then it was an entire year before it came to the States. And back then, that could happen. Like, it would not leak. You would have like the one master tape, and that would go where it needed to go.
You didn't have the internet in those days.
Right. There's no YouTube. There's no way. Nobody had a VCR. Like that was for super wealthy people. So they made this show, and then a year later it airs in America, and then a few years after that it airs every year, and then it becomes a video, then it's on Nickelodeon, and then in the 90s it had a huge explosion. Apparently I missed it, but people who were nostalgic for that were searching for it, and so it's been reissued. And over time, the very beginning, and we'll get to that in a second, or you did at the top of the show, it opens with Kermit the Frog. So we're bringing in the Muppet Show characters into this universe.
Yes, and this is very important to remember for the time that, let's talk for a moment. We're going to put a little pin in that, because this Emmet Otter is a couple of years before, although they're already working on it, it's a couple of years before the Muppet movie.
Right.
And the Muppet movie exploded on the culture. I mean, I remember seeing it in the movie theater several times when it came out. I had the album, and when in the Muppet movie, and it's not the opening scene, but there's a scene early in the movie where we see Kermit the Frog, who all of us knew intimately from Sesame Street. We'd grown up with Kermit the Frog on Sesame Street and then on the Muppet Show. So he's like Mickey Mouse to us,
Mhm.
right? When we see on the big screen Kermit the Frog riding a bicycle.
Yeah.
The audience in the movie theater, I cannot express to you enough how people lost their freaking minds. But a lot of the stuff that's in the movie theater was workshopped, if you will, or tried out and I mean, pretty much perfected in Emmet Otter a few years before. And there's no CGI of anything. That's not a thing that exists yet. All of this is done through engineering and human puppetry, human artists bringing these characters to life. But most of us in the US, we weren't really exposed to what they were able to do until we saw the Muppet movie. So here in the US, the airing of Emmet Otter on television and the release of the Muppet movie is closer together than it actually was in real time. So some of us saw the Muppet movie first and then saw Emmet Otter, but yeah, so it's all of this is kind of happening at the same time. But what they were able to accomplish with the technology, the very limited technology that they had available to them at the time, let alone what they were doing on Sesame Street, like revolutionary. Wow, this little movie is incredible. Do we want to play? Let's see, which one of these? The TV ad?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi all, this is Kermit the Frog, and I'm here to tell you the story about Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas.
Monday at 8, 7 Central, a special holiday treat for the whole family when Jim Henson's marvelous Muppets bring Christmas to Frogtown Hollow in Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas.
Tonight.
Our generation was so acquainted with the Muppets, and but the thing is, that's a universe that exists from the waist up.
Yes.
You sometimes do, but it's very rare that you even see a Muppet's legs, like where Grover is sitting on a wall and you see his legs hanging over the wall. So to see them, and it's not perfect. To see the Muppets walking it gets very marionette-y, but okay, it's fine. But again, we have right at the beginning of Emmet Otter, Kermit the Frog, who's sort of like our MC narrator. He's our O. Henry, if you will, riding a bicycle, riding a frog, riding a bicycle with zero digital assistance of any kind. That's all.
Yeah, that's all. And later on, they took out so Kermit in the original versions what narrated the special. We don't have that now. We do have his original. He arrives at the beginning because they were when Disney bought ABC and their Disney and Children's Television Workshop were interconnected, and then they had to be separated. So this isn't the version that kids got in the late 70s, early 80s. It's a little bit different, but I love that they've restored it with Kermit at the top. I just think that kind of really nicely, neatly ties things together.
I agree. Yes, I remember that he would pop in from time to time in the original one when it aired on television and just be like, "Oh, things were pretty rough for Emmett and his mom that winter." Yeah. So I mean, they take these characters that are in the book and the Riverbottom, they're now called the Riverbottom Gang. In the book, they just show up at the talent show, and that's the first and they're just like sweet kids, like, "Hey, here we are. You're going to play our rock music." But in this movie, they're made to be like
rough,
grungy, rough, mean kids from the city, and who kind of terrorize this humble little town. They blow into town, and they're gonna enter this competition. And they have a bully at the helm named Chuck, who sounds just like Cookie Monster.
Yes,
And
it's Frank Oz.
I was watching this. I was watching this with my husband and my daughter, and yeah, we were like, "Oh, that's there's Frank Oz. Oh, yeah, that's Jim Henson." And you could sort of identify. We knew all of these people, all of these performers from the Muppet show and from Sesame Street. These are the same puppeteers and voices that they didn't hire out.
Right.
They didn't have to. Why would you? You have.
If you think about that too, like these are people who can make puppets, who can make miniatures, who could create all of that and do the voices. And it's not just doing voices, they're acting.
Live. They're doing it live. Yeah. They're not like going back and dubbing it back in. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're very.
Oh, maybe we should show the outtakes.
Yeah,
that really illustrates how they did that, right? You can really see that they're performing this live for the camera.
Who are they, Ma?
Beats me. Hooligans is what they are. Probably some of those Riverbottom boys.
Who are they, Ma?
Beats me. Hooligans is what they are. Probably some of those Riverbottom boys.
Can't we do it again, Ma?
Shut up, Emmet. Come in.
All day. I could watch it all day.
I mean, that's just so cute. That's how they do this.
It's amazing. I didn't, because I saw the movie. I only just learned about the book, right? I was blown away when I opened the book and saw what the illustrations look like, because they completely brought those exact illustrations, Lillian Hoban's illustrations, into 3 dimensions. That alone, I can't believe. It's just, okay, so we've got this amazing artistry of the Muppeteers, and then you have, just the comedy of Frank Oz and Jim Henson. And then let's just sprinkle in some of the music of Paul Williams.
Yeah. So I guess number 3 there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About all I got left is a sense of humor in a wash tub.
Well, at least there ain't no hole in the wash tub.
Head full of good thoughts, belly full of grub, money in your pocket when there ain't no hole in the wash tub.
Sweet as honeysuckle on the vine, Ma.
Your nails won't break and your toes won't stub. You never get a fever when there ain't no hole in the wash tub.
If you look to the good side, falling down's a free ride, slipping and a sliding in the mud.
If your back is hurting, I can say for certain I'll be there to treat you to a soothing back rub.
When there ain't no hole in the wash tub.
I like to emphasize how there's no self-pity that's going on with these people. They deal with life very realistically, but they're not depressed. They're people that are like, this is our situation now. What can we do to feel better? Let's sing a song right now. Okay.
Yeah.
We're just going to sing a song together, Mom. We'll just, you and I, it's so charming.
Ma Otter is, so you heard in the outtakes, Ma Otter's, that's clearly Frank Oz.
He was Miss Piggy.
He was, but the final vocal performance is by Marilyn Sokol.
Yes.
Plays Ma Otter. That's a voice that you and I heard all the time in our childhood. She was also known at this time for playing Lulu Brecht in Can't Stop the Music.
With the Village People and
Bruce
Jenner before she was Caitlin.
And the film debut of Steve Guttenberg.
That's right. And Nancy Walker directed that.
That's right.
Rhoda's mother.
wrote his mom.
Supposedly on one of the channels in Australia, they play that movie every year for New Year's Eve. Or New Year's, excuse me.
Underrated.
Underrated. Yeah. But yeah, so that's her wash tub. That's how she makes a living. And she kind of like some of the women give her a hard time, like, hey, I'm going to come over and use my sewing machine that I lent to you a few weeks ago. And she just kind of laughs it off. They're just sort of doing the things they need to do. But Emmet has his eye on a guitar with some pearl buttons on it. And that's worth $40. And so she's thinking, if I win the 50, I can get him that, and I can replace the toolkit that I just hocked. And once again, he is giving up that he's taking the jug, but he's convinced he's going to win with his friends, and they have a very cute song too. But I think Barbecue is their song. So I think we have that clip, and
we do. Hold on,
super catchy.
Soul food, they still got a soul. And it don't mean that you got no rhythm if you don't like rock and roll. But if you taste like mine, you like cider, not wine, and your very favorite thing to do
is get a pretty girl dancing to Jug-Band music.
And a mess of mama's barbecue. Barbecue,
Bless my spirit,
I swear that it never fails. And the sauce mama makes just stays here forever if you dare to get it under your nails. Well, you may be poor with the wolf at your door,
but money isn't everything.
You still got the sun and a river full of fun, and you always have a song to sing. So get the fun off your face, we're gonna replace it with a grin and a dream come true.
With a pretty girl dancing to Jug-Band music.
And a mess of mama's barbecue.
So that's their big song that they're rehearsing. And
it's so cute.
And it's so cute. And it's so catchy. And you can see how that stand-up bass works. So you do have to put a hole in it in order to make the stand and have the strings on it. But they're rehearsing there. But as they're rehearsing, they hear that there is this rival gang that is going through their town, and they're being very aggressive. And I couldn't help but think, like, it has that 50s hoodlum thing that was used in television at the time.
Have a hot rod.
I remember, like, when Fonzie had the soapbox derby, the thing, and then they had the Malachi brothers. Like, they would crash into him. It was like leather jackets and greaser attitude. That was sort of So that was the ethos. That was the look, the pastiche of the look of all of that. And so I think we have that clip, and it's Emmet meeting Chuck.
We do. Yeah.
Well, we better head for Waterville. I'd like to be there early for the contest.
Boy, I know we're gonna win. I just know it.
Hey, fellas, do you hear something?
Hey, sounds like a car or a motorcycle.
Hey, who are those guys?
I think they're from Riverbottom.
Look at the birds up in the trees.
Yeah? Well, we're not birds. We're a Jug-Band. Yeah, practicing for the talent contest.
Oh, sure. They're gonna win the talent contest, right, boss?
Shut up. What was that all about?
We were watching this with, my daughter was seeing it for the first time, and we're watching it together. She says, "Don't tell the bully your plans." Don't tell the bully your plans.
I love the sparklers on their snow machines that are going
so
through.
Clever.
It's so clever.
So clever. I just want to say too, like, I don't know why we don't make a bigger deal about Paul Williams.
Yeah.
So as Margot said, first of all, like, he's just a character. He was on television all the time. He would show up on sitcoms all the time as himself. Like there's an episode of the Odd Couple where Felix's daughter is on a date with him for some reason. He was funny.
Yes.
A raconteur, He does 7 songs. This is exactly the same time as again, they're in production for the Muppet movie. And this is sort of a workshop for them to kind of work a lot of the technology out that they later use in the Muppet movie, but not much later. He writes 7 songs for this special, and they're wonderful. And then at the same time, he's doing all of the music and score for the Muppet movie. What?
And for Barbara Streisand, he wrote for her extensively.
All at the same time somehow.
He was on the Love Boat, remember that? He was drunk off his you-know-what. Like, he was always, but like as she said, he just was so charming and funny and just talented. Like, this guy can write a catchy song.
Crazy talented.
Yeah. So the mother is creating a dress for herself, and the boys are compete. Our next clip will be the boys, the brothers. Somebody else plays the barbecue song, and they're like, what do we do?
I love this little plot twist. Number one, it's just a device to get another Paul Williams song,
which I'm okay with.
I'm fine with it. But this is not, all of this part is not in the book at all. In the book, as I said, the Riverbottom band goes first, and they're such a hit that when Ma sings and when the boys play their jug band music, nobody cares. But in the book, it does tell you what they're planning to sing. So each of them is planning to perform 2 songs, and you just get the names of these songs in the book. Wonderful Paul Williams takes the name of the song and then turns it into this whole, well, you're hearing these songs. But I love that device. So first of all, we're getting all kinds of Muppet shenanigans in this talent show. Hilarious. We're seeing all the other little, animals that live in the town are performing, and one of them gets up and performs barbecue, and he doesn't do it very well. But
the audience doesn't know. The audience is like, oh, this is kind of catchy. Okay.
Yeah. But now the boys like, oh, crap, we have to quickly put something else together. So they go out and they practice. And then, so when they go on stage, they're going to sing a brand new song that we, the audience, haven't heard before.
It's Brothers' song.
The mayor's introducing us.
Uh-oh. Come on.
4 young lads whom I'm sure you'll enjoy. They call themselves the Frogtown Hollow Jubilee Jug-Band.
How much alike we are. Perhaps we're long-lost brothers. We even think the same. You know there may be others. We can always use a friend. This family just keeps growing. This family doesn't have to end. Brothers. Brothers.
And it's so darling.
It's fantastic.
It's darling.
It's absolutely fantastic.
And then the mother comes out, and then she sings a soprano song that's very lovely and sweet. And so the audience is like, wow, this is a really good show we're coming to today.
Yeah. So unlike in the book, the audience loves the jug band and loves when Ma Otter sings her song. Like her little dress and her little hat. I can't take it.
And Holly Hobby and Little House on the Prairie were very popular at the time. Yeah, so it makes sense that they would have her dressed like this. But this is when, and this reminds me, I think this is maybe the beginning for Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, like having
they
a
sound
rock
exactly
group.
like Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem. This is totally a song that they would do. Do you have it here?
Yes, we do. So number 7, Riverbottom Nightmare.
I see it. Okay.
we want. We do anything that we wish. We got no respect for animal, birdie, or fish.
The grass does not grow on the places where we stop and stand.
Riverbottom Nightmare Band.
We're a mess.
A tide does not like to be clean.
We don't brush our teeth.
'Cause our toothache can help us stay neat.
We don't wish to learn.
But we hate what we don't understand.
Riverbottom.
When you see us coming, you better start it running. We're always starting trouble and we're happiest when things are out of hand.
Oh my God.
Paul Williams.
I'm also thinking of Kiss and Alice Cooper.
Oh, it's all of that. He's such a genius. Like he's bringing all of these elements in. The same guy is writing all of this music. Ma Otter, and then, oh gosh, he's just showing off here, Paul Williams. It's just showing off because we have Ma Otter comes out and she sings. So we've got this kind of, very Kiss kind of a song. Ma Otter sings something that's, it could be maybe a World War I era dance hall ballad. And it's this very, very sweet, old fashioned song. And the people of the town are like, oh, this song, remember this song? And so it's so sweet. And she's all by herself and she's just killing it on the stage. And the boys have their Jug-Band. We have 2 Jug-Band songs that the boys do now, thanks to our little plot device. So that later on, when they're walking home and they're so sad and, she's singing she's humming along her little song that she did, and they're humming along their little song that they did. And they go, wait a minute. Hang on. These 2 songs go together because of course they do, Paul Williams. He's not through with us. Oh, no. Turns out those 2 songs that you just loved individually, turns out they go together. They're one song.
Well, they have to walk home. It's dark. They're walking home on the ice and they're all kind of like, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, we forgot to mention like all the animatronics. We see them rowing in a boat on real water. These 2 puppets just rowing. We have birds that are flying somehow. Everything's a puppet. The ducks on the pond are a puppet. We see the animals are ice skating when the river freezes over. They're ice skating. Emmet and his mom are like, they have this slide where they slide down onto the ice and they're flying around on the ice. And yes, now the river is frozen over. They have all lost everything. And so they have to walk home on the frozen river. So yes, we see them. It's so sad. They've lost everything. We don't even know how they're going to eat.
And mom just says, why don't we try singing? That'll cheer us up. You know what would work perfectly? We take Brothers and then we take my song and we put them together.
Really, he's just showing off.
Say, those 2 songs could fit together.
How do you mean, Ma?
Here, boys, I'm going to start singing my song, and you come in singing yours when I show you, okay?
Okay.
We're closer now than ever before.
How much alike we are. Perhaps we're long-lost brothers.
There's love in our world and we're showing it more.
We even think the same. You know there may be others.
Our world says welcome stranger.
brother's a friend.
Favorite stories don't end.
Welcome, brother, in our world.
Gee, Ma, that sounds fun.
It sure does, Emmett.
I just need a minute.
I know.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. It's Paul Williams still with us, by the way.
He is. He is.
And as is Marilyn Sokol.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
and Frank Oz.
Yep. It's so ahead of its time, this thing. It's a time in television when we still only have the 3 networks and public television. I think HBO is just getting ready.
Yes.
Just about starting to launch right about now. So everybody is watching the same stuff. Like everybody watched The Muppet Show. Adults, kids, the whole family would get around and watch it. And the whole family would sit around watching this. And so they are somehow, hitting the audience at every single level. We've got, of course, the appeal for kids. We've got the appeal for parents. We've got, like Margot mentioned, bringing in all of these kind of cultural moments that were going on, this kind of resurgence of interest in the 50s and like motorcycle gangs and the whole like Holly Hobby, Little House on the Prairie kind of vibe. There was also this kind of Depression era,
the Waltons
resurgence. Yeah, that was going on. All of it, all introduced by Kermit the Frog in like a little leisure suit.
It's such an amazing amalgam of talent that's going on here. And it's also what happens when you don't have too many CEOs in charge making decisions. Like this is really letting the creators trust them and their instincts to create something different and special that will have wide appeal.
Just this particular, the magic of this ensemble of creatives and all their different skills that they're bringing in. If they only did Sesame Street,
right?
Spectacular. If they only did The Muppet Show, if they did that, and then they only created this special and what they did with this special, but then they do the Muppet movie. What?
Several Muppet movies and a Muppet Christmas Carol's amazing. That's with Michael Caine.
Oh,
Lightning in a Bottle. It's whatever you want to call it, but it's just everybody's at the top of their game creatively.
Absolutely.
And it's wonderful. It's just a big bucket of wonderful.
Just watch it. If you've never seen it, it's easy to get your hands on. It's playing for free on YouTube right now. You and your whole family will enjoy Emmet, and it totally holds up.
Yeah.
There's not a moment in this whole thing where you're like, oh, yeah. No, it's perfect. It's perfect.
It's a perfect movie.
The little frog with his little cape in his cummerbund. Come on.
I'm only human. I can only, I can't withstand this. It's there's nothing cynical going on here, and there's nothing cloying. I mean, and it's treating the audience with respect.
Yeah, always. They always do. So what do you think, book or movie?
Oh, movie. I mean, I love the book.
The book's great.
It is. It is great, but I will definitely watch this every Christmas from now on.
Yes. And I really like the plot choices that they make in the movie. It raises the stakes. It makes for a more interesting use of Paul Williams' music than if they had done it according to the way the book was done. So yeah, it's because in the book, again, the mom and the boys are a flop. And how can you be a flop when it's Paul Williams?
Right.
You can't. Impossible. So yeah, I agree. Also movie. Just so much fun. let us talk about what we're doing next. Next, we're going to be doing something that has also come up a lot in our Facebook group over the years.
We're going to be covering The Lion in Winter. We can never get away from Katharine Hepburn. We can never have enough Katharine Hepburn movies. So that's going to be the next one. That is a play, very easy to get your hands on. And the movie is also very easy to get your hands on. So I'm very excited about that. I have not seen that in many, many, many years. So I am very excited to revisit that material.
We have Katharine Hepburn as Eleanor of Aquitaine. We've got Peter O'Toole as Henry II that was married to Eleanor of Aquitaine. We've got a young Anthony Hopkins. It's fantastic. So we are very much looking forward to discussing that next time here at Book versus Movie. And Margot, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, let me just say, once again, all your suggestions that you have for us, please reach out to us. All those places I mentioned at the top of the show. Yes. Our email, once again, is bookversusmoviepodcast@gmail.com. And you can find me at brooklynfitchick.com. That's my site. I'm at Brooklyn Fitchick for Threads and Instagram. I'm at Brooklyn Margot for TikTok, where I also posted a lot of these clips, and for Blue Sky. And then at YouTube, where you can see this whole show, it's at my name, Margot Donahue. Where can they find you, Margot?
You can find me online at coloniabook.com, and all my social media callouts, including Blue Sky and YouTube, are at She's Nacho Mama.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for checking in with us. We'll be back soon with a new episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Book versus Movie podcast. We're a part of the Spreaker Podcast Network. Go to Spreaker.com to check out all of the shows they offer. We ask that you make sure to subscribe to our podcast, Book vs. Movie, in your podcast app, so that way you'll never miss an episode. If you want to interact with the Margos, the best place to do that is in our private Facebook group. Go to Facebook and type in Book vs. Movie Podcast Group and ask to join. On social media, you can find us on Instagram and Threads. You spell out Book versus and Movie. Our email is bookversusmoviepodcast, spelled it out, at gmail.com. This is Margot D, and you can find me at my blog, brooklynfitchick.com, and I'm at Brooklyn Fitchick for Threads and Instagram. And on TikTok, I'm at Brooklyn Margot. I'm also at Brooklyn Margot for Blue Sky. Margot P. You can find her on all social media at She's Nacho Mama. We really appreciate the listen, and if you have ideas for us, we not only cover books, but also short stories, magazine articles, plays, songs, poems. Be creative. If it's been adapted into a movie, we may just cover it. We just ask that the movie be available on a major streaming platform. We'll be back soon with a new episode.